Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you do to support this channel. Your subscribing, your thumbs up, and your comments. This channel is holding its own. And today we're going to talk about President, or former President, Donald Trump, who has been convicted of 34 counts of something in New York City. So now they're talking about appealing his verdict. So somebody is speculating that if he goes to the Manhattan Court of Appeals, he might run into this group of women right here. A Manhattan jury on Thursday convicted Donald Trump on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments to Stormy Daniels in October 2016. Trump said Friday that he will appeal the conviction. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, with more than 1.4 million views, Elijah Schaefer of Gateway Pundit asked, "Do you think Trump has a chance with the Manhattan Appeals Court?" and included the following photo. And this is the photo of these 5 judges on the Manhattan Appeals Court. Schaefer's post is misleading. While the women pictured are all members of the court that could hear an appeal to Trump's case, they are only 5 of the 21 justices who could be selected to sit for the case. Assuming Trump's legal team appeals the guilty verdict, the case will be passed to the state's appellate division, First Judicial Department, a branch of the New York Supreme Court. The First Department Appellate Division is made up of 21 justices, each of whom is appointed by the governor to 5-year terms. A minimum of 4 and a maximum of 5 justices are randomly selected to sit on any given case, with the concurrence of 3 being necessary for a decision. So they could well be selected to hear that case. The 5 of them together have heard cases before, and it's very likely that New York will use at least one of them on the Trump case, because black women have shown that they will do the right thing. If he's guilty, he's guilty. There's no point in trying to dress it up or sugarcoat it. He's guilty. The 5 justices pictured in the post are Justice Bahati Pitt Burke, Justice Troy K. Weber, Presiding Justice Diane T. Renwick, Justice Tanya R. Kennedy, and Justice Marshall D. Michael. They're all members of the 21-person First Department Appellate Division. The photo was taken on February 24th, 2024, after the 5 had been selected to hear arguments together in several civil cases, the first time an all-black bench had ever sat in the history of the First Department. Yeah, they probably put them there anyway because they knew the Trump thing was coming up, so, they want somebody who's going to look at the facts and judge on the facts. While all 5 of these justices should be available to sit for an appeal to Trump's guilty conviction, the actual 5 would be chosen from the department's full roster of 21 justices. The First Department Appellate Division confirmed to the Dispatch fact check in a call that this selection process is random, meaning it's impossible to determine which 5 justices would be assigned to Trump's appeal in advance. Okay, so there are 21 judges in the pool, and these are 5 of 21. It would take 5 judges from that pool of 21 to decide on Trump's case. I'm still saying that at least one of them will be on that case. If Trump were to lose on appeal at the First Department Appellate Division, he could appeal a second time to the Court of Appeals, New York State's highest court. Well, he's probably going to lose because they base everything on the facts. And unless they made some kind of mistake during that first trial, the decision will most likely stand that he's guilty. Now, if anybody should face justice and be judged on the facts, it's Donald Trump. Let's go back to 1989. The Central Park jogger case, which is sometimes called the Central Park 5 case, was a criminal case concerning the assault of a young lady, a young white woman, in Central Park in New York City. This happened on April the 19th, a beautiful spring night. On the night of the attack, dozens of teenagers had entered the park, and there were reports of muggings and physical assaults. 6 teenagers were indicted in relation to the assault case on this young white woman. Charges against one, Stephen Lopez, were dropped after he pleaded guilty. They had no lawyers present. Their parents didn't know anything about the arrest, but they coerced a confession out of these teenagers. Those teenagers were put on trial, found guilty, and they were sent to prison for assaulting that young woman. Despite inconsistencies in their stories, no eyewitnesses, and no DNA evidence linking them to the crime, these 5 men were convicted in 2 trials in 1990. They were found guilty of rape, assault, robbery, and rioting. They spent between 6 and 13 years behind bars. It was only after a Hispanic man who was a serial rapist, as they call it, was in prison and confessed to the crime of assaulting that young woman that these young men were let go. Now, where does Donald Trump come in? Donald Trump, during that whole time, without any evidence, Donald Trump was the main advocate for the death penalty, bringing back the death penalty for these 5 young men. He called them a wolf pack. He called them every kind of name in the book. They were not guilty, but they had to stand trial for it. They were found guilty without any evidence. Now, Donald Trump has been found guilty with a lot of evidence, and he's still hollering and screaming that it was unfair. So if anybody needed to go to court in New York City and stand trial for what they did, it was Donald Trump. And even though those young men were not guilty, there was no evidence of them being found guilty. There was evidence of him being found guilty. So I think the verdict was fair, the court was just, and everybody did right by Donald Trump. So anyway, I don't know what you call that. Some people call it karma. Some people call it, what goes around comes around. Some people just downright call it justice. He got justice in a city where he believed that people who commit a crime should receive justice. He believes in justice for other people. So whether he faces these 5 judges or not, he's going to have to face somebody if he appeals that conviction. And so whoever he faces, I hope that he will receive the justice that he deserves. So if he can come up with some evidence proving that he didn't do the things that they said he did, then he should go free. That's just a fair thing to do. But he needs to come up with the evidence, something they didn't have against those young men. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening and have a good evening.